let's dig into this Coinbase situation because I think this stuff is really interesting, and this has been an ongoing thing. So I know like the big hammer kind of came down recently, but Coinbase for a very long time has been asking for regulatory clarity. They've been wanting to follow the law. They were served with a Wells notice, which precedes a complaint. They tried to get clarification on the Wells notice, and the SEC refused. Now, if you're a regulatory body and you're covering an organization and you issue them, you say, hey, we want you to be in compliance. And the organization that you're working to says, great, what can we do to be in compliance? And you say, we're not going to tell you. Does that make a lot of sense? And when we pair that with the fact that we have Elizabeth Warren partnering with Gary Gensler, giving him the question she's going to ask beforehand, basically coordinating the response, just like fraud, by the way. They've been caught doing that. And Elizabeth Warren has come out like hugely against crypto, which is also really weird. I guess it shouldn't surprise me that crypto has become like a political football, but it doesn't. I don't see a really obvious. Oh, this would be a left wing thing or this would be a right wing thing. That's why I'm really confused about it. But anyway, let's get into recent news because, as you know, Coinbase has now been served with a actual complaint, not just a Wells notice. And we'll start with Brian Armstrong and just explaining. Okay, regarding the SEC complaint against us today, we're proud to represent the industry in court to finally get some clarity around crypto rules. Just what I was saying, they're looking for clarity. Remember, the SEC reviewed our business and allowed us to become a public company in 2021. Now, remember, they're a public company, and I saw someone on Twitter once say, like, well, why does that matter? Well, it does matter because they have to go through an immense amount of scrutiny and due diligence when you become a public company. It means you're going to be filing public reports about your finances. There's a lot of stuff that's now going to be public that wouldn't be when you're a private company. There is no path to come in and register. We tried repeatedly, so we don't list securities. We reject the vast majority of assets we review, right? SEC and CFTC have made conflicting statements and don't even agree on what is a security and what is a commodity. Important point. This is why the US Congress is introducing new legislation to fix the situation, and the rest of the world is moving to put clear rules in place to support this technology. And this is a really important point I want to bring up because this is something that's happening in the US. Around the world, they're putting in those regulations. So what this means is that the US, and I apologize to my viewers in other countries this won't apply to, but in the US where Coinbase is, we're going to be falling behind, and the US just isn't going to be the leader of the world anymore if this keeps happening, because it's not just crypto. It's like everything. We can't even get housing right. I mean, there's places that have so much red tape around housing that people are homeless because there's no places to live, and it's too expensive because there's so few places. Everything gets jacked up. Yeah, it's terrible. So I just think that's really important. And so he says, instead of publishing a clear rule book, the SEC is taking a regulation by enforcement approach that is harming America. So if we need to avail of ourselves of the court to get clarity, so be it. I think that is one thing that's really positive about this. It's like, well, if you're going to take it to court, now the court can decide, right? By the way, in case it's not obvious, the Coinbase suit is very different from the others out there. The complaint filed against us is exclusively focused on what is or is not a security. We are confident in our facts and the law, he says. Which I think it's really important. This is a good time to, let's look at this one. Which ones are they talking about? Let's take a look at that. The SEC has named these 19 tokens as securities throughout the Binance plus Coinbase filings. This could have massive implications for these tokens and the industry as a whole. So these are the coins. So the ones that are in both are Solana, ADA, which is Cardano, Polygon, Filecoin, Sand from Sandbox, Mana, Algorand, and I don't know what AX is. That Axie Infinity AXS? I know Axie came up in the coin. I know for the Coinbase one, sure. Atom in Binance, BNB, BUSD, Cody, all those in Binance, and then Coinbase. Is it Chaz? CHZ? I don't know that one. Near, Flow, ICP, VGX, Dash, and Nexo. So all of those are considered securities now. By the way, they've had a really long time to name these securities. So interesting that they're first doing it now. By the way, also interesting that they're going after exchanges that seem to be largely doing things right, at least from Coinbase's perspective. Meanwhile, Gary Gensler was meeting with Sam Bankman-Fried at FTX repeatedly and didn't do a thing about that. Very interesting, I think. So then Adam Cochran had this to say, which I think was rather interesting. So here's a breakdown of the SEC complaint. So it advocates that since 2019, it's been an unregistered broker. Kind of a weird year to pick. So, because what changed in 2019 versus prior years? Now, there was a time period where Coinbase seemed to kind of loosen up on the coins that it carried. I don't think that was 2019, though. And like I said, they were still pretty careful to make sure they were selecting coins that they didn't believe was a security under law. But again, there's no clarity. And then it claims that it's a clearing agency, which I believe is a stretch. Unregistered broker claim for Coinbase Prime as a prime broker for digital assets. Still a weakish claim, but the naming convention hurts them. Claiming Coinbase Wallet, which is non-custodial, is a broker because users can use DeFi is insane and new. Yeah. Imagine that. Dude, it's a non-custodial wallet. It's how can it be a broker? It's like saying your wallet in your pocket is a broker. It's ridiculous. Wildly claims Coinbase made the circulated business decision to ignore the law. Again, there has been no, they're publicly documented, as he points out here, as looking for guidance on the law, yet somehow he's ignoring the law. It's crazy. This is how ridiculous all this is. Staking program started in 2019, seems the main linchpin here. Boy, I swear they had that earlier, but maybe not. SEC is basing their case on this and trying to smuggle the weaker cases of assets in with this, which is why it starts in 2019. Yeah, something around the staking program really seems to be where they're staking their case on. Now, he says it's admittedly tougher. The current model of staking, which is direct pass-through of rewards with variable fees, probably okay, although novel and complex. Prior ones could have been more gray area, which is the case. Which, if is the case, is a fine, and dropping that offering. Yeah, it's not a big deal, but I still don't think they're doing a pass-through because, dude, I'm getting like 20% on my Atom right now, just staking directly, and you get like 4% or 5% or something like that on Coinbase. So I don't know about that. Oh, you guys are really quiet. You can always chime in on stuff. Seeking relief in the form of fines and dropping those services, very different than the Binance case, not seeking to bar anyone from operating. True. Gensler once again relying on his own definition of the Howey test, which no court has upheld, specifically saying it's flexible rather than static principle. It is A, but yeah, okay. Also notes that orange groves have been found to be vehicles for investment contracts. That's just not true. The contract to acquire rights to the future profit of the orange grove was the security. That never turned the orange groves themselves into securities. Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, so kind of embarrassing that he doesn't understand securities law. The next few sections highlight the requirements to register, although conveniently leave out that no one can register as a crypto exchange with them. So you were mad that you can't register. By the way, also no way for you to register. Seems pretty convenient, huh? They lean on historical ICOs as grounds for things being securities. Now remember, they actually shut down ICOs, so you can't do them anymore. That was when did that happen? That was a while ago that they did that. I remember I went in an ICO for Electronium. I still got that somewhere, but it's like It's so worthless. It's like, who cares? But you know, I put like a dollar. I think I put like $1.50 into it, so not a huge loss. That's called asymmetrical upside, by the way. I've talked about that numerous times. When you can put a small amount in for possible huge gains, that is asymmetrical upside. This is the first time SEC has said a self-custody wallet is a broker dealer because it can help route a transaction. Again, nonsense. Notes Coinbase solicits customers for trades, which is true and only relevant if the assets are securities. I would say all customer funds. Yeah, so we don't need to go through this whole thing. I think you get the idea. But the point is, like, I really think these suits, I don't know about Binance. I have less familiarity with them. I've never used them. But the suit against Coinbase has always seemed ridiculous. Coinbase, at least publicly, has been stating that they want to try to do the right thing and have been trying to do the right thing all along. Whether you believe them or not, I don't know. I'm just going to end this little segment here with one more thing that I think is interesting. This little video, hopefully it plays. Oops. I don't think we need the sound. 30 times. 90% of assets are rejected. The Howey test, 1946. Gonna put $1 million jobs overseas. I think they should have commas in there. 33 countries have bills establishing crypto rules, and we do not. I say we, I'm talking about the US. Yeah, so really, really interesting stuff. I find this very, it's just disturbing. It's like, it's the politics of it are so naked and obvious, and they think we're stupid that we don't see through this. It's ridiculous. Delio says solid algo holdings. Smack my head. Freaking Gary goes from supporting algo to calling the security. Yeah, it's particularly with algo. Gary Gensler had been on stage and said really, really great things about Algorand. So good point. I didn't have that in here, but he was saying that he liked Algorand. Remember, he actually taught a cryptocurrency class. So that makes this whole thing really bizarre.